How's it going? This is Mitch with Native Survival. Today we're going to go over how to sharpen a convex blade. Stay tuned. So as I'm waiting for my tea to get started there, fire to build up, I'm going to crack into my tool maintenance kit. Inside I have a ceramic rod wrapped up in toilet paper sheath. So I've yet to make a little leather sheath for this. Now, convex edges are best sharpened by rods like this. When I was a butcher's apprentice, we had convex blades. We used 3 to cut meat. 3 different blades. And all had convex, we used sharpening steels. Sharpening steel is the same as this, except it is steel. Has a handle on it and a guard in front of it. So I'm going to use the only convex blade I own to show you how to sharpen this like we used to in the meat shop. I have a made in Germany knife gifted by my buddy Shane. It's been a while. It has a convex blade. It does not have a Scandinavian blade like my Native Survival knife. It has a Scandinavian bevel, which you can see very clearly. The geometry is different. Convex is a concavity, or rather not concavity, is a convex, not concave, a convex edge, right? So it's sharp here, but it bends to it. It's like you take a piece of steel stock and you start rounding the 90-degree corners so it becomes a single edge, and it has a curve to it. And so there are these different kinds, like saber grind is in between. It's like a Scandi that suddenly, instead of going like this, at the very end it does this. It has a sharp secondary bevel, like another Scandi bevel on top of that Scandi bevel that cuts it short, which is horrific. It's the worst grind ever. It's like using a snowplow through wood, which is gross. Convex can get, it has high shoulders, high cheeks, so it's not as efficient as a Scandinavian bevel, because Scandinavian bevel is the same that's on planes. You know, planers, you can take off you can see through it. Translucent shaving of wood. That's literally just a single Scandi edge blade stuck in there, screwed in tight at the angle you want, how deep you want it, take off how thick of the shaving you want, and it's just amazing for that. Convex, oh, but it can chip and stuff like that, and it's very thin and fragile, things like that. Convex, although it has a cheek, which makes it not quite as good for that, for like super hyper thin, you know, curls like that. It's a stronger, more robust edge than a Scandinavian, and so there's kind of a give and take there. You know, you can kind of beat on a convex edge a little bit more, unless you make it too thin. On any knife, if you sharpen it too much and you make it super hyper sharp, it's actually junk. And I've taken knives that started out that way, you know, where you get a knife and you're like, this is too sharp, and you use it and you can't really use it. It's not a real user. Like, I need a real knife. I'm a professional in the woods, and my blade has to meet my standards of use. And so a good edge is not one that's the sharpest it can be, because then it dulls faster, because it's super thin, small amount of metal. I mean, like down to a micron if you want to go crazy, like scalpels and stuff. Try carving with anything like that that's real sharp, and it dulls super fast because it's so thin that it gets bent over. You roll the edge, it dulls really fast because it's so thin. And so you don't want to make your knife hyper sharp, but there's a magic zone in between hyper sharp and just kind of like, you know, not very sharp, not really dull, but just kind of like it's okay. There's a magic zone in the middle that's like a stout blade that you can carve all day, and maybe 2 days, 3 days before you feel it before you have to resharpen it. And you really don't have to touch the edge up, just a tiny bit on the stone, very lightly, and it's like bam. It's super sharp, it has great grip, it digs into wood, has good bite, it's called. And so Scandinavian, it's easier to get that edge. It's harder to make it too sharp on Scandinavian. And when you do, you just have to use it a lot to wear it down and then to give it a good edge, because you don't want it as sharp as it can be. The reason why I'm saying all this and to understand the geometry behind it is because convex is easier to get it too sharp and have a weak edge. If you use your knife and you have to like sharpen it after every use on your convex edge, you've brought it too sharp. There is a way to do it. So now we're going to sharpen this, and what you do is hold the edge. Okay, I'm going to lay my knife on here, right? The angle by which I tilt it, for illustration purposes, right? Angle by which I tilt it is how far I'm going to push that edge. Because the edge is like this, right? It has cheeks, but it's like this. And when I go over the steel, I'm pushing the edge over. I'm leaning it. Every time I go over a side, I lean it. I lean it. I lean it. I lean it. And at first, you can use a lot of pressure, especially if it's like not very sharp. It's like way out. You have to. You have to try to recenter it, and you want to like really be robust and get it back. And then the more you do it, you use lighter and lighter and lighter pressure, and you don't really want to move it a lot. Now you're just thinning the tip and fine-tuning it. Like, you know, fine-tuning it. And you don't want to be real rough with it, real gentle. And you like feather, using like less than the weight of the knife. Very light, very delicate cut, touch, and then you get a very delicate cut. But if you go too far with that, it can become too sharp. And again, there's a magic spot in the middle. So, that is the visualization. If it's real bad, you have to put more energy, harder, to recenter it because it's so crazy. But you have to be careful because, you know, that's like, you'll never get it sharp. If you're just always going hard, it's just like always, it's like a wave. It's never going to get centered and be happy and be nice and sharp and slice for you. So you want to get lighter and lighter as you go. You might have to start stronger if it's real bad. Let's see, what else? What else you need to know? The angle, right? So back to the angle. Again, if it's real bad, you want to have a steeper angle, because that's pushing it more. It's pushing it harder. I mean, if you go enough, if I just go like this, I mean, in just like ridiculous angle, and go, I'm gonna just literally like roll the edge over, and you'll be able to look at it, and the whole edge is just like, it's not even straight anymore. It's like, I'm bent the whole way. You know, that's usually like damage to the knife. Like when you're cutting something, you hit a piece of metal, something you're not supposed to, like you roll your edge. It's awful. Not a good thing. Okay, so I'm going to go through this. This is pretty sharp. It's pretty sharp. So I'm not going to go too crazy on this. I'm going to lay the knife down. And my innate bevel is I just lift it like this much. That's it. You know, it's like 22 degrees or something. I don't know. I just kind of know from doing it so much. That amount. that amount, that amount. And what's important is that you do the same angle every time. And if you have to, go this slow. To get your angle, then do it. You have to do it. Like if you have any variance, you're wasting your time. You're just practicing making your knife dull. So you want to put your knife against the rod, the sharpening steel or the ceramic rod, then go to the angle that you're going to use. See how I change it? So go to the angle, then you go down, and you want to move away from the tip of the rod. And as you get here, you want to be basically working perpendicular to the edge. So that edge, I want to work like this, virtually. I mean, that's why some chefs, they sharpen their knives like this, right? Because that's what they're doing. But I like to go forward as well. That's how I was taught cutting meat. And when I get to the tip, that changes. That geometry isn't there anymore. So I have to angle my hand up. See that? So now the tip is perpendicular still. That's why you see people who use sharpening steels, like chefs, doing this. Or butchers. That's what they're doing. They're changing the angle at the tip so it's the right angle. Or the angle it should be, the proper angle. So anyways, it's going to go light. I want to get all of it. And now, while I'm doing this, two things are happening. I'm pushing with this hand, and that pushes the bevel and the rod up against each other. Pushes the bevel and the rod up against each other. I'll give you a side angle. Okay. The harder I push like this is, you know, that matters, right? But then the harder I push back with this hand, this finger. So my thumb is pushing as I go down. My finger is pulling. Both of those combined is the actual strength that you're modifying that side of the bevel and pushing it over. And if I do it here, the bevel's going to bend towards me because I'm pushing it away. All right, when I get to the other side, it's the opposite. Now my thumb on the sharpening rod or steel, as it takes pressure, my thumb is the one that's pushing back. And my first finger on the knife is the one that's pulling, right? And again, you want to be perfect. Perfect. And I'm using those two fingers. Thumb, first finger here. Here it's first finger and thumb on the other hand now. And as you get better at it, you just kind of just work at it. Ah, my fire just ignited on its own. Look at this. Don't you love that? I do. I like when it ignites itself. Okay, I'm going to sharpen in a minute. Hear the sound change? I'm there. Now I'm going to go very light. Done. Oh yeah. Now if I kept on doing it, after the sound changes, long time, another 40 times or something, I would have weakened it. See, I can easily carve through my nail. Very sharp. Let's find something to carve real quick. Nothing important. Just do my board. Why not, right? Just for fun. Just for fun. Who cares? Just a piece of firewood I split last year. Okay. Let's see. Bam. You see that? Sharp enough. That was a good one. I just want to keep one on there. Get this one. I don't know if I can get my camera to focus on that. Look at that. So there you go. It's very easy to sharpen convex blade, especially if your blade isn't absolutely awful, you know, like if you're keeping up on it and making sure it doesn't get totally trashed. It's not a big deal. You just have to touch it up every once in a while with a rod, sharpening steel, or sharpening ceramic, I guess you'd call it, but they're rods, sharpening rods, either steel or ceramic. I got this for like $2 or something from bensbackwoods.com, I think it was. So shout out to Ben. So yeah, dude, it's like $2 or something, and I've carried it for years. I don't know if he even still sells it. Hopefully he does. But convex blade, happy sharp, very easy to maintain, and you just have to touch it up a few times, and you just have to get the angle right and the pressure right, and understand what you're doing pressure wise and the angle, you know. And then all of a sudden the sound changes. That's what I was taught when I was a butcher. Once you know the sound changes, it's like, okay, now I'm gonna go like featherlight 2 times each, and it's like, you're done, dude. Like, don't do any more. You're only gonna do damage by that point, because you don't want it sharper than that. It's so sharp that it's like singing. It changes. It's been Mitch, Native Survival. Hope this helps you out a lot. I hope this gives you some different visualizations while sharpening your convex edge. And appreciate your time. Take care. Bye.